Hello and welcome. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. This is from the CBN. I'm Mulie Misi Dada. There are a few things that will shape Nigeria's economy in the new year. The African Continental Free Trade Area, which goes into effect in a week's time, is expected to be a major game changer, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Economic opportunities to be created by the bloc is estimated at 3.4 trillion naira, and Nigeria is poised to be not just a signatory in name, but a major trade and economic powerhouse. We'll be talking more about the AFCFTA on the program today and also present to you more beneficiaries of the CBN Economic Intervention Initiative right after the news highlights from the Central Bank of Nigeria this week. The Central Bank of Nigeria has revoked the operating licenses of 42 microfinance banks across the country. The Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation (NDIC), which is the official liquidator of the banks, published the list of the 42 microfinance banks on its website last Friday and urged depositors of these banks to come forward within the week for the verification of their claims. The withdrawal of operating licenses to the 42 microfinance banks took effect from the 12th of November. Similarly, the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, has revoked the licenses of 7 payment service providers and 1 switch license in accordance with the provisions of the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act 2004. This was contained in the Official Gazette of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, published on its website Thursday. The affected payment service providers are Easy Fuel Limited, Transaction Processing System, Grand Towers Limited, Paymaster Limited, E-Revenue Gateway Limited, Etholium Network Limited, and Global Shore Limited, while the switch license revoked was that of 3 Line Card Management Limited. The revocation took effect from November 30th. Meanwhile, the CBN says it will look into the reported scarcity of funds experienced by bank customers at most ATM points in Lagos metropolis. This followed complaints that the proliferation of agent banking could be responsible for the situation. Acting Director, CBN Corporate Communications Department, Mr. Osita Onwanisobi, told the news agency of Nigeria, NAN, that it was highly preposterous for anyone to say the CBN connived with banks to deprive people of their money this season, adding that the primary purpose of ATM was to make banking easier and more convenient. The Statistics Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria has published the 4th quarter Consumer Expectations Survey report. The report, made available on its website Wednesday, shows negative consumer outlook for the current quarter, but a positive outlook for the next quarter and the new year. Majority of the respondents expect the naira to appreciate, while they believe that the next 12 months would not be an ideal time to buy big-ticket items. And that's the news.
Up until a few years ago, Nigeria produced far less than it consumed, spending up to $22 billion annually on importation. Then came the import policy by the federal government. Now, to survive, the nation must learn to be self-sufficient. And so far, we are on the verge of achieving this through the intervention of the Central Bank of Nigeria and other stakeholders in support of local farmers and efforts of value chain entrepreneurs. Now, the goal of creating 10 million jobs in 5 years through 10 commodities is gradually being actualized. Let's buy Nigerian to grow Nigeria.
The African Continental Free Trade Area is a vehicle designed to help boost continental trade integration through a policy that promotes the relatively unhindered flow of goods and services across the 55 member states of the African Union. It provides for a tariff-free regime that would cover 90% of all traded goods and services. This agreement comes into operation come January the 1st, 2021. That's exactly a week from today. Earlier this month, the Interim Governing Council of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPS, held its inaugural meeting in Cairo, Egypt, a historic step towards the operation of the system that will enable intra-African trade and commerce payments to be made in African currencies as part of the goals of the AFCFTA. Mr. Godwin Emefiele, Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, who is also the chair of the PAPS Governing Council, said central banks of West African Monetary Zone will see to the successful rollout and implementation of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System within the zone. Now, to speak further on this Continental Free Trade Agreement and how Nigerian businesses, as well as the economy at large, stand to benefit from it, is the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Muda Yusuf.
Well, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, in a layman's term, is about making it much easier to trade within the African continent. You know, Nigerians by nature, we are very enterprising people. And we have a lot of traders among us. And even currently, in practically all parts of the continent, we have Nigerians doing a lot of things around trade. So what this will do is to make it even much easier for people who are in trading to trade within the African continent. In other words, you can take goods from Nigeria, go and sell it in Ghana, take goods from Ghana, sell it in Togo, Senegal, Cameroon, South Africa, Botswana, the whole of the continent. You know, so that is already quite a lot of that is happening, especially at the informal level. Those things are not properly documented. But now with the agreement that is, will be effective in a few months' time, we'll have better documentation and there will be better ease of movement of these goods. And of course, because it's a free trade area, we are going to have the elimination of the tariff. So the tariff barriers will be removed, except in cases where the provisions in the agreement provide for some exceptions, because the agreement has exceptions for some products in order to protect what you call sensitive sectors. That is sectors that are not quite ready for the kind of competition that could arise from the Continental Free Trade Agreement. So it's all about making it easy for trade to take place. Of course, there is also a condition. That's what you call the rule of origin. It's a very important component of the agreement. And what the rule of origin says is that while we are trading, those goods that we trade in have to be goods produced substantially on the African continent, so that we don't have a situation where any part of Africa or any country in Africa will go and bring goods from other countries and begin to trade within the continent. If anybody does that, that's a violation of the agreement. So there's a need to ensure that there is proper and effective compliance with that component of the agreement. Otherwise, the whole system could break down. As at the time there was that initial proposal to sign the agreement, there was no sufficient consultation, particularly between those who are negotiating and the private sector, particularly the manufacturing sector. So concerns were raised that how do you go into an agreement, or how do you go to sign an agreement in which the major stakeholders don't have sufficient information? So that was the first issue. And the president at that time said, well, because there was this concern from major stakeholders about not being carried along in the process, there was a need to further deepen the process of consultation so that there be proper buy-in and proper understanding of what the agreement entails and proper understanding of the implication of the agreement for business. So that is what led to our delay in signing. So I think as a result of that, there was a few months of consultation between the negotiating team and the private sector. There was consultation with the chambers of commerce. There was consultation with the private sector players, and I think there was also consultation with labor. So it was after the conclusion of the consultation, that was when it was now agreed that a committee should be set up to look at all the issues that were raised in the consultation process and come up with how the government will address them. So that will give a comfort, some level of comfort to those who are manufacturers in particular and other stakeholders, addressing their specific concerns, because the specific concerns were in the area of competitiveness. As you know, production in this environment is a very tough thing. The cost of production is high, the operating cost is high, the tax environment is also not the best, especially for those in the real sector of the economy. You know what the energy cost is, for instance. You know what the transportation cost is, for instance. You know what it is to get your goods out of the ports. You know what the taxation environment is. You know what the regulatory environment is. So all of these things have implications for cost and for competitiveness. So the fear was that if we have this kind of situation and we now expose our manufacturers and other service providers to this kind of competition from other countries that apparently have better operating conditions, there is no way that we can compete. So that was the fear. Already as we speak, we have some components, also some segments of players in the private sector that are already exporting to the West African sub-region within the context of ECOWAS. The regional economic blocks are going to form the building blocks for the AFCTA. So already quite a lot of that is happening, particularly from the large enterprises, from the big manufacturing firms. A lot of their products are being currently exported to the West African sub-region. So for some of them, even under the current condition, they are already, making some inroads into some countries in the West African sub-region. But for the small and medium enterprises, it may even be more difficult, because the large enterprises, because of their scale of production, they have what we call the advantage of economies of scale. Because the larger the volume of production, the lower the unit cost. So they are leveraging that at least to be a bit more competitive. But for the small and medium enterprises, particularly those who are in production, it could be very challenging if we did not address the critical issues of competitiveness, namely the issues of power, issues of transportation, issues of the regulatory environment, issues of the ports, issues of taxation, and so on and so forth. All those things are very important. That is why it is important for those of us in the private sector to scale up our engagement with government. If you look at the structure of the Nigerian economy is about 50% services. And the challenges that are faced in the service sector is not exactly the same thing as what we face in the real sector, especially in production. The energy requirement in services is much less than what we require in the real sector. The issues of the ports, logistics, and all of that are not so heavy on those who are operating in the services sector. So because of that, the competitiveness in the service sector, even within the continent, even within the global economy, from Nigeria, is much higher. That is why if you look at some elements of our service sector, already they have strong presence outside the country. If you look at our financial services, for instance, they have very strong presence across the West African sub-region. And I can tell you, if you have this Continental Free Trade Agreement signed, our banks can practically take over the entire continent because of their sophistication, their standard, their advancements, and the technology application that they currently use. Because if there's any sector, at least in the service area, that is not afraid of any foreign competition, I think it's the banking sector. There is no foreign bank that can come here and pose any serious threat to our Nigerian banking system. And if you go through the West African sub-region, you will see the kind of dominance that they have. So service sector, a lot of opportunities. Look at what is happening in the entertainment industry, in the fashion industry, even in ICT. We have some of our, indigenous telecoms companies that are already in some of these African countries. So we have some strength also in services. And when we talk about enterprise, especially in entrepreneurship, buying and selling, Nigerians are all over the place. So we have some strength in that. Now, coming to what exactly we will gain by now going from the regional blocks to a continental block. Regional block, the market is much less. If you take the West African sub-region, we are talking about 300 million population. If you take the totality of the continent, we are talking about 1.3 billion people. That's a huge market because there's a relationship between market size and population. That is what gives a lot of countries some strength. If you talk of China today, part of their strength is also in their population and their market, domestic market. The same thing with India, even to some extent, the same thing with the United States. So the size of the market is bigger. The size of the economy is also much bigger. We are talking about close to $3 trillion economy. And look at the size of the continental economy. So the bigger the space, the bigger the opportunities. But for us to be able to tap into these opportunities, we must be able to compete. So it comes back to the fact that we need to prepare ourselves to be able to compete. And government needs to live to its promise that it gave before the signing of the agreement, that the conditions will be created for this competitiveness to be strengthened.
The Agribusiness Medium Enterprise Investment Scheme is an initiative of the CBN to support federal government's policy measures for the promotion of agribusinesses and SMEs as vehicle for sustainable economic development and employment generation. Here are more beneficiaries of the scheme telling us their stories.
I got to hear from a friend who referred me to their website and I applied. The fund has impacted my business through many ways, and one of it is that I have moved from small scale to large scale production. We produce uniforms for schools here in Kaduna, and I have also opened an arm of Immortal Figures, which is basically into training. So we groom other young people into the fashion business too. So currently I have 4 permanent staff and about 7 temporary staff. I want to sincerely appreciate the governor and the federal government for opening up this scheme for we young people. It has boosted our entrepreneurial spirits and it has helped us to attain our goals in life. So I really, really appreciate and thank you for this opportunity. We don't take it for granted. We put in all efforts into this to see that we grow and also help our nation.
Because the pandemic restructured a lot of things and actually affected us as a business and as a company, my account officer reached out to me and told me that the CBN was providing some backup funds for businesses, and it helped a lot for the post-COVID backup funds, and it really helped us as a company. It helped us to get back on our feet and get back out there. It just felt good that the government was able to look out for us in that way, and it wasn't really stressful at all. Everything was automatic. We just put our details and stuff, and it felt good to know that the government really cared about some of us.
I got to know it through my husband's friend, who happened to hear it from someone, and my husband thought it was a good idea for me to jump in, as I had already started my small business from home where students used to purchase, and I would get a delivery person to deliver to their schools or houses, wherever they may be. So when we started, we had ad hoc staff but as I'm speaking to you now, we have 12 permanent staff working for Not Just Burgers. I think basically it is the foundation of the whole business. It has really made me feel courageous to pursue my dreams and employ more people under me, to see that some people are also getting the means of living through me. I'd like to appreciate the governor, the whole AgMES program, for giving us a platform to see that we foresee our dreams and not just die with our dreams without achieving our goals.
Well, initially when we started, it wasn't easy because we were doing manual processes. So we started sourcing for fund, and it was a challenge. I decided to walk to CBN office in Kaduna here to find out if there is any scheme to assist entrepreneurs. And the staff directed me to Nassau, that there's an ongoing Ask Me scheme that I should go and apply. With the aid of that scheme, we were able to procure a machine that would help us in the extraction of the milk from the tiger nuts. It has also assisted us to get more people to join us. Currently, we have 5 employees who are working with us at the Different Resources. I'd like to say thank you to the CBN and its governor for introducing this scheme to assist entrepreneurs in their various endeavors. I also want to thank the federal government for making this possible and easy for us to access to boost our business.
I've been able to change my business and from where it used to be to what it is now. I've been able to do a whole lot of things that I've had plans that I'm going to achieve. I've been able to set up a fashion school here. I've been able to expand my brand. I'm ready to wear. I always have this dream of owning a fashion school in Enugu, and here it says I have so many machines now. So since January, I've been able to train, I have a total of 31 students that I've trained, and some of them are still in training. My advice is that if you really want to do this, go get it, because I don't know anybody that knows anybody, and it was successful for me. It has really helped me. I think it will help you too. I'm really happy I've been able to expand my brand, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Blog bụ ife eji mara anyị. Blog ka anyị na-akpọ na Abuja. Tupu nata ego na ụlọ ọrụ ndị CBN, moto ka m na-anya, ụgbọala ka m na-akwọ, as a taxi driver. So mgbe weta ego CBN wee tụgharịa ndụ m, hapụzie ịkwọ ụgbọala wee na-akpọ blog. So ebe anyị nọ na ego a ndị CBN nyere m enyego m aka rie nne, maka ịma na ịnya ụgbọala bụ taxi ọ dịrọ mfe. Na CBN emego ndụ m wee dị mfe. A na-ebizi ndụ ka mmadụ si ebi ndụ. Tupu ụgwọ skuul eruo, ana m akwụcharị ụgwọ skuul before go school. Mana mgbe mbụ, mgbe nna ya taxi, ịkwụ ụgwọ skuul ụmụ m siri m ezigbo ike. Site n'ife nkụzi anyị jere maka iweta loan a, ọ ga-enyere Nigeria aka, because maka na ife mmụta n'ime ka nkụ. I nwere ike ịmụta ya, amgosi gị ihe esi were ihe na-abụrụ ife wee mepụta ife na Nigeria. Ọ maka skill, akara aka, ndị ọrụ aka. So ọ bụrụ na ịbata ebe ahụ mụcha akwụkwọ, mbọsị ị ga-apụ, mbụ gị ga-agbanwe. Ọma mbụ ihe ịma before ga-adị iche karịa nke ịma na. So ụlọ akwụkwọ ahụ dị ezigbo mkpa o wee nye anaghị Nigeria.
Moda Masari, yeah, a fashion line. We're into made in Nigerian clothes wears here. So we've been running this business for quite some time now. So I heard about this AgMES loan through a friend, so I applied. So it wasn't that difficult after going for the training and every other thing. So it just took quite some time for the loan to be approved for me, which I was glad, because it was approved for me for my business to expand and get some equipment I really needed for the business. And it's really it's for sure, because people are wondering if that is not really true, but I got it, and alhamdulillah, I thank God for that. And my business since then has been expanding. Before the AXMIS loan, I actually had 4 workers with me, and myself were doing the job ourselves. But after the loan, I was able to employ 3 more persons, so I have 7 employees here with me, and we thank God for the growth, because that is what we're looking forward to, and my business is actually going fine. It's okay. So if you get an opportunity like that, you have to go for it, because it's something that need to really benefit you in your business. I'm happy to be one of the AXMIS members.
That's the much we can take today on the program. Remember, you can log on to the website of the Central Bank of Nigeria at www.cbn.gov.ng for further information. Also, reach out to its contact center on the telephone number provided below for any complaints that you may have. We'd like you to send in your comments and contributions to our email address, that's fromthecbn@gmail.com. Follow us on all our social media platforms for updates and a repeat broadcast of the program. Join us again next week and next year. I'm William Misidada. Stay safe, enjoy the holiday. Bye for now.